North Face. Got my real tree hat at home.
Your real
dress up hat.
That's your good hat. Your go to church hat.
Yeah.
You know what would be really cool is if we could do Danny Boy in Gaelic. I mean,
can we?
Boy, that's tough. I'd have to work on that. That's really tough.
That would be something that in the future episodes we could have Juan do Gen Z lyrics to Danny Boy.
That'd be great.
An Irish accent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's lit, fam.
We're making it up as we go.
Oh, lit up in here.
Yeah. So he's
That's nice. I like it.
Very nice. Yeah.
I don't know if this is matching our vibe, but it is good.
And that's when everyone started to fall asleep. It was the lullaby.
I got an idea.
Too good for us.
Yeah, I got an idea on how to get the viewership up is to do it as a relaxing music on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then everybody will start watching it, and then we can have JT start out, and then we start off with weird news for for about 5 minutes, so that people are lulled into it. And as they're falling asleep, we go,
yeah,
Wolverines attacked a COVID center.
That'd be great.
That's one way to increase the viewership. Just don't tell anybody what this show is about.
Yeah, mislabel it.
Mislabel them and mislead them.
That's right.
ASMR, worst fails or something.
Yeah, and then we spring it on them. Surprise! There's really nothing of quality going on.
Can you hear something?
Yeah.
Yes.
Music is going.
All
It's
right.
the theme song, everybody.
It's the theme song, y'all.
You should just do ASMR the whole show.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, da-da-dar.
Hey,
It's D Dr. R.
Can't play. Yep, filler. Hey, just filler.
Smack.
I'm ready to see the show, Rachel.
I'm ready. Are you ready? I was just about to do that. Nice.
Are you ready for the show?
Oh, Shamrock.
We need to do a Canada version for our friends up in Canada.
Our show?
Yes.
Come on.
I'm putting a note down.
Excuse me, eh?
We put gravy on our French fries.
I'm right.
Cocoa Puffs are $300 a box.
See you later, gents.
Bye.
Right.
Goodbye. Oh my gosh. I made a note that we're going to do a Canada version at some time coming up.
I like it.
Maybe have somebody come in and teach us how to speak Canadian.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey.
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 I'll just go, hey.
Hey.
I do look like I'm broadcasting from inside a nuclear reactor tonight, don't I?
Yeah, for real.
You are.
It's
You're
like,
watching like a rocket launch or something going on.
Yeah, that's what our producer said. I need to be like, oh, it's beautiful. Hey, welcome to Skews, everybody. My name's John. I'm the closest thing you have to a host. To my right is Brian April in the corner square. Underneath is Juan DeVivo in his Sunday go to meeting hat. And down in the lower left-hand corner is JT, John Thomas Oakes. And we are so jazzed about tonight's show. You may be surprised to know that I've actually created a graphic that's going to demonstrate how big a show we have tonight. We have I made a graphic, and I think our producer is going to bring it up while I stall.
I swear
we have many things to do tonight.
I'm just making it up.
Yeah, if this is a typical show,
and that's a large show. That is a big show to start.
It's toothy.
A mastodon. Then tonight's show is this.
Wow, wet and salty.
Both mammals. it was the size.
Bigger than a 50-foot woman.
Yeah, not necessarily
Oh.
bigger than a 50-foot woman.
You're right. Gosh,
Yeah, the thing, the 50-foot woman was last week, and you notice that in the poster, like she's way bigger than 50 feet. It shows her like standing over skyscrapers and stuff, and that's like,
Yeah.
I think when we do that, we should just take the previous week. So it should be like the woman. So this is this week's show, last week's show, and be the 50-foot woman this week, and then we go bigger.
mm-hmm.
I mean,
you know?
I guess eventually we'll just have like the sun,
Yep.
and then like other stars. Until we get to infinity.
Galaxies.
Yeah. Today's show is the Horsehead Nebula.
Tonight show eats krill. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's going to be. It's not mathematically possible to get bigger, every time, right? So it's at some point.
Oh yeah.
We can't continue to. We can't continue to keep finding things that are bigger,
Right.
I mean, we would just end up just doing stars, and like you said, just stars, and then galaxies, and
then here's a bigger star.
clusters.
Not with that. It's true, I guess. So, all right. So tonight is our St. Patty's Day warm up, and I thought it would be a good idea if we sort of built up some momentum to go into St. Patrick's Day rather than just having it slam into us cold, unprepared, right? And so we're going to ease everybody into St. Patrick's Day, and how I want to do that is with a little bit of a Irish accent lesson. And so what I'd like to do is have our studio audience just give us some lines that they would like to hear us say with an Irish brogue, and then we will do that, and we'll just take turns. We'll go around. And
so they're learning. The audience is going to learn from us.
They're going to learn from us, right?
Oh,
because we're going to speak.
Expert.
Oh no.
And I didn't actually clear this with anybody. I just decided.
We didn't discuss this, John.
I just decided we were going to do this. So, our producer will put up a line. For example, she'll put up the first line, and I'll do it. Oh, I love Brian's shirt.
We just going. Okay. Brian goes.
Yeah, that's it. So then Brian would go, and Brian has to do the next. Okay.
Where'd you hide my Cocoa Puffs?
Where? I'd like to crack at the beginning. Where'd you hide my Cocoa Puffs?
I'm just a teenage lad,
Teenage Irish person.
All right.
Juan?
I can do the cartoon cop guy. Like, hand me that piano, you jumbo shrimp.
There you go.
That was quite a.
And then JT, our Eastern Tennessee Irishman.
This'll be the best Paddy Fest we've ever had.
That was pretty good.
That's a pirate. That's a pirate that was raised in Ireland and grew up in Scotland.
That's amazing.
Pirish. Call that Pirish.
Pirish.
They're more of the aquatic Irish.
Irish. Always after me, Lucky Charms. Yes, skulking dog.
Where did I bury those?
Where did I bury?
The kids will be walking the plank.
That's a T-shirt waiting to happen. A pirate with a shamrock on his hat or something.
Oh, just in time.
Irish, just in time for St. Patty's Day.
Yep.
Marketing, man. The official used Pirish shirt.
The official language of skews.
We should have thought this through. All right. Do we want to do one more round, or let's do one more round, and then we'll do.
Are they with us? Are we gaining viewers or losing them?
Just in case we haven't completely offended all the Irish people watching.
All right, so let's see. I don't even know. All right. Beware of the grape with the wooden mallet.
Oh, nice.
Mine is kind of soft.
This eating this shamrock shake is better than when we all the snakes left.
Nice.
That is
The snakes are back.
In Ireland, are they?
Yeah.
Did you see that lad in the lobby? Code purple if I've ever sold one.
That was good.
Code purple. Oh, am I flirting?
Juan's killing it. Yeah.
Are you asking me to flirt with a dude in the lobby? That's
Who ate me Lucky Charms?
Lucky Charms.
I was waiting for somebody to mention Lucky Charms.
We went that 2 rounds before we got to it.
Yeah. Now we've offended all the Irish people.
Yeah.
All right. What we're going to do tonight for our main event is we're going to do story salad.
Yay.
And JT is here to. This is actually a game that JT invented.
Actually, Tommy invented.
That Tommy invented.
Tommy invented this, yes.
But it's sort of a family project, right? Because
my brother did all the artwork for it.
Mhm.
So yeah.
And you're the game guy, so you sort of helped conceptualize the rules and such as they are.
Yes.
So tell the guys how this works, and then
please do tell me how the game works before I play the game.
Story Salad is a story sharing game.
Nice.
And everyone likes stories. Humans are just rabid for stories. Dad came up with an idea. What if you had a bunch of people around a table sharing a bunch of stories? It'd be like eating a big story salad. And that's what sparked the idea. And so we came up with, for our first deck, if it's got 50 different categories, stories, and 5 different vegetables in 10 different poses each. So what we'll do is draw a card, and it has a topic on it, and then you just try to think of a story. This is the simplest version of the game. Is you think of a story that has to do with that category from your life or someone you know, and you tell it to everybody. And we go around the circle. If anybody else has a story based on that topic, they can tell one too. If not, then we move on and somebody draws a new card. That's the simplest version of the game.
And who is the loser?
There are no losers. Everybody wins. It's like Hug a War. Everyone wins.
Hug a War. Come here, you guys.
That's too friendly for
Irish
war.
accent.
It has to be like angry hugging.
Yes.
Like hug a war.
I'm behind on writing down my T-shirt ideas.
Right.
Okay.
No contact hug of war.
Yes.
It's like when we do Irish accents. Everybody wins.
Yes.
Right. There are no losers.
Yep.
Including the viewer.
Yep.
Especially you.
So Tommy and Pat are actually going to join us tonight for the game.
Okay.
All right.
So
Yay.
I'll bring them into the. I just gave it.
You will definitely have better stories than me.
By the door. So they're going to join me here in a second as soon as they get settled. And
Tommy's asking for the key to the story vault, to the Oaks story vault. He's going to go down and.
And JT, I just want to say, the shirt has nothing to do with the game. This is just more of the actual salad.
I understand.
Yeah, real salad.
Thank you.
Real salad.
Story salad.
Thank you.
So not. I have another shirt that says I love story salad.
Oh, good.
It's
laundry. We got time. Go put it on.
You can wear it next time. That's fine.
just do it right now.
It's in the laundry right now. So
it
just started.
Writing
so
on
this game is also available at johnthomasoaks.com, right?
Yes, it is. Yes.
We've never said that on the Snappy Wrap Up. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So do we want to pick somebody to go first? And I'll just draw a card for one of you.
Okay, I'll go first.
You want to go first?
Okay.
Sure.
I'm gonna cut the deck and draw from the middle and see what we
The
get.
other guys look nervous, and so I'm going to go first.
Okay, so I drew this card, which is a couple of olives, and it's my mother.
Oh,
my mother?
So a story about your mom, John.
Does she drink a lot of martinis?
Oh gosh. Well, my mother's actually been on this show before.
Yes.
Turbo, yeah. And did I tell the story about how she got the nickname?
I don't know if it's been on this show.
I've heard the story, but I don't know if it's been on the show. Yeah.
All right. So I will tell that story about my mother. I have many stories I could tell about my mother, but this is the one that will probably be the most germane. All right. So Grandma Turbo has been on the show a couple of times, or at least once. And how she got that nickname, how she came to be Grandma Turbo, was she wasn't actually born with that name. She is she went in to have knee surgery quite a few years ago. And she was talking about how once she gets out of knee surgery, it's going to be like she'll have a whole new knee, you know. And, and so she was leading up to it. She was telling us about how excited she was. I'm going to go get knee surgery. I'm going to replace this knee because I'm having trouble walking. And she was pretty hobbled up for a number of years, and she couldn't walk very well. She couldn't go up and down stairs, all that sort of stuff. So she's like, well, once I get this knee surgery, it's going to be like a new lease on life. I'm going to be able to do all kinds of things that I can't do now, and I'm really looking forward to it. And so we were at the lake. Our family took a vacation every year. We would go to the lake cottage, and we had access to my sister's speedboat. My sister Bonnie and her husband Bobby had a speedboat that we would ski behind. And so we were at the lake. My mother had knee surgery 8 months prior or something like that, a number of months prior. So she was getting around pretty well. And we're going, all right, we're going to all pile in a boat and we're going to go out and we're going to go skiing. And Grandma Turbo, at the age of 70, whatever she was close to 72, I think 73, something like that. She goes, I'm going to ski this year because I've got my knee replaced and I'm going to get out. I'm going to ski this year. And my brother-in-law, Bobby, my sister's husband, he goes, easy there, Turbo. And the name stuck because she honestly thought that we were going to drag her around behind the boat on her freshly rebuilt knee because she was feeling invincible.
Had she ever skied? Did you say this before? Had she ever skied before?
Yeah, but it'd been years and years and years and years and years since she's been on skis, and she was just. You know, if we just said, "Hey, we're going to go skateboarding and rock climbing," she'd have been, "I'm going to go skateboarding and rock climbing."
That's fantastic.
So it's like easy there, Turbo.
Well, what's that? Weightlifting? Olympic weightlifting? Sure, I'll try it.
Well, that phrase has become part of our family vernacular now, and we say it whenever she's going too far. We'll go easy, Turbo.
That's great. Well, my mom has started calling your mom Turbo Granny, and they've been emailing back and forth. And my mom calls herself Zipline Granny because when they set up the zip line at our church camp, my mom went down the zip line at age 70, and she climbed a telephone pole by herself, hooked into that thing, and zip lined down. And she held the record for the oldest person to ever do the zip line at camp. That was 10 years ago. We took a new crew last month up to that same zip line, and she is 80 now, and she climbed up that pole again and went down the zip line again.
Wow.
So she's holding that record, and the camp manager told her last month, well, you got to come back when you're 90 now if you want to hold the record. So it's fun.
You got to come back.
Yeah, exactly. It's fun that your mom and my mom are now trading emails, and they call each other Turbo and Zip line.
And Zip.
Yeah.
Right.
That'd be funny if like 10 years from now she gets there. She's like, please don't make me do this. And you got to. It's a tradition. Please just let me.
Shoving his 90-year-old mother off a tower.
That's right.
You'll thank me for this later.
They call her Zippity Duma.
That's great. So does anybody else, Brian or Juan, do you have a story about your mom?
Oh, I thought it was going to be about John's mom.
You don't have to.
Yeah, there's no
pressure. Just if one pops in your head, you can.
I have two real quick things about my mom. My mom is one of those people that doesn't always know the lyrics to things.
Yeah.
Like the song "One Night in Bangkok." You know that song, "One Night in Bangkok makes a hard man humble." Right.
Yeah.
So she just makes up sounds to go along with the words. So for that song in particular, she goes, "One night in Bangkok, dee 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 dee," and she'll take her wedding ring and smack it on the table to go with it, dee 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 dee, like a drum, exactly. So my mom's really funny. I wasn't here for this story, but it's really quickly. They were driving along out somewhere, and they saw somebody on a bike just going through, just biking along, and apparently their shorts were not fitting well. So my mom rolled down the window and yelled out to the stranger, "Butt cracker!" And butt cracker was then born.
Was that a Superman reference?
I don't know.
Is that a Nussmacher? It sounded like Nussmacher.
Yeah, she just said butt cracker, and so now whenever you see someone doing that, that gets yelled out. In my
That's fantastic.
My mom's crazy.
Like easy there, Turbo.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fantastic. I wish I had that kind of audacity. I pray that when I get older, sometimes maybe I will.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, it wasn't anything like pull up your pants or anything. It was just butt cracker. No, that was it, and just drove off.
He's probably like, did I leave my crackers back there again?
Yeah, exactly.
That guy probably still tells the story. Some random woman just yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what her deal was.
That's great. Juan, do you have a story about your mom or?
Not like that. Like,
Okay.
The one that popped in my head was she would make these things called bird's nest. She isn't a great cook. She'll admit that. But and she was just like a working mom. And one thing was, some people have testified to this. Like, you guys might. One thing I'd never gotten in my head. She would get these pear halves, fill them with cottage cheese, but then put cheddar cheese on top of that and a cherry. I've never seen it since, but some people are like, "Yeah, it's real good." And I'm like, "What?" And then there was another thing she used to make with butterscotch and caramel and lo mein noodles, and she called it a bird's nest, and they were okay.
Yeah.
They were. She's like, "They're so delicious." And I'm like, "It's okay, Mom. You can eat those. Those are for you. Those are your personal." I'll stick with the Hershey bar.
With the lo mein, it sounds like a Chinese version of those Greek things you get. Those Greek desserts that look like bird nests.
Yeah, it's just they go crazy. They're going everywhere. It looks like the Fortress of Solitude, but covered in caramel.
Yeah.
That'd be a great name for it. It would. Butterscotch Fortress of Solitude. It's delicious.
So do y'all have a mom story?
Yeah.
Stories about moms?
I didn't have a mother.
Yeah.
I love that story about her mom when you worked at Christmas at Knox. You know.
Oh yeah. Get in the hot seat here.
So you got to get in front of the microphone.
You have to get in the mic.
Here comes Zip to tell
Press
her mom's
record,
story.
everybody.
This is not a funny story. It's kind of a sweet story. I used to work every Christmas at a department store called Knox Department Store in Knoxville. And I had to ride the bus to work, and then I had to walk about a half a mile to get home. And I always worked when I was in college at Christmas time, I would work. And so it was really, really cold. And I would get off of the bus and walk half a mile home and stand over the heater grate. We had a coal furnace in the basement. And my mother had vertigo her whole life. The whole life I knew her. And she would always go to bed really early. But on the nights that I walked home from the department store, she would hear me come in and get up and kneel down in the floor and rub my legs till they were warm again. And I just always wanted to be that kind of mother. And I knew I never could be as good as my mother because I thought she was the perfect mother.
That's nice.
Yeah,
That was nice.
It's a nice story.
Do you have one about your mom?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Switch seats.
Yeah.
Tommy's got a mom story too.
No. This is a little. This will tell you what my mom. Something about my mom's personality. My mom. The last 2 or 3 weeks of her life, my mother spent in the hospital, and she was very weak. And in the last week of her life, I remember they had her in this room, and they were running some kind of a test on her. And she was hooked up to all sorts of machines and stuff. And I was standing outside the room, and she did like this. And I came in, and she called me down real close to her. And I said, well, what is it? And, I thought she was going to say something very touching and very meaningful, because here that is, you could be going on to be with the Lord in the last moments of your life. And she said to me, check that leaky commode in the upstairs bathroom?
Oh, you're getting ready to go into glory, and that's what you're concerned about. That leaky toilet. Yeah.
Wait, was that a metaphor?
I don't know, man. There you go.
She meant spiritually. She meant
Yeah,
figuratively.
maybe that's it.
Check
That's
check that
great.
leaky toilet up there.
Did you do it? Did you check it?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I did.
That was her
It
last
really wasn't
request.
leaky, it's just one of those got to jiggle a handle.
Oh, good. I'm glad it didn't put you out too much.
It would keep running. It just drove her crazy. It kept running.
Uh,
He died the next week, by the way.
Yeah.
She died that week. It was during the week. She died.
Yep.
oh, that's a great story.
So that's one round. If we want
All right.
to keep playing, we can draw another card. Do you want to do that?
Let's give a card to Brian.
All right, Brian, you ready?
I'm ready.
I got one question though.
Yes.
Did the we had 2 olives on the card? How does that play into the story?
Not really. That's just,
My
Just a
mom
min-
liked her martinis extra.
Exactly.
John.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
My
okay.
mom like 2 martinis.
Okay, sorry. Moving
okay.
on.
Now the other rule I didn't specify is if you draw a card and you draw a blank, you can't think of a story. You just draw another card. You can't lose this game.
No losing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Not even
so
a reprimand.
I challenge.
Oh, I
accepted.
can lose. I can lose this
Exactly.
game.
So for you, Brian, I drew a radish that's kind of dancing, and the topic is a time I was happy.
Oh gosh.
Happy as a radish.
Let me tell you about Branson, Missouri. No.
The year 2019. We were allowed to work in public and go to the stores.
When I left Branson, Missouri, I was
Stop.
happy. Let's see. Time when I was happy. Man, there's so many memories. Let's see. Let's see. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna give you a little personal thing. How about that? We'll give you a little personal thing, and some of you guys were kind of through that. This past November, I had my facial paralysis surgery.
Yeah.
And that was for those who don't know, if you're new, I had facial paralysis, still have it, for 2009 from a thing called Ramsay-Hunt syndrome. And I ended up getting this thing called synkinesis, which was involuntary muscle movement. And that was where if I make a circle with my lips, my eye will close. So like that. And I was in constant pain for over 12 years. And I got to meet up with a surgeon, and a bunch of people raised a bunch of money for me to get a surgery, and it eliminated a lot of the pain that I feel, and I'm now pain-free. So you know what? The time that I am happy is now, actually. I am pain-free. I'm feeling good, and my face is healing, and I couldn't be more happy and feel more loved and more blessed than to be on this show and be with this community and the people around it. So the time that I feel happy is as crazy as it is now. So thank you.
That's great. Awesome.
Bravo.
Yeah.
So if
You
anybody
win,
says
Brian.
anything, yeah, I was like, if anybody says anything other than I'm happy because I'm on this show, or
Well, the rest of us going to say.
yeah,
That's great.
Tabby.
I was legitimately happy in Branson too for a couple days.
We laughed a lot in Branson.
We did.
In fact, that'll be the story that I'm going to tell now. The time that I was happy was, for all of the complaining that we did, all of the things that happened in Branson that were quote unquote tragedies. In all sincerity, I learned a lot when I was in Branson, and my memories of what happened in Branson, they always make me laugh. We laughed a lot in Branson
Yes.
because there was a lot of crazy stuff that happened. You can't do show after show after show to an empty room and not have it be funny at some point. It's just, it's true. It's funny. we had the time that I'm remembering where we were laughing to the point where my stomach was hurting was the guy who was our producer in Branson was a guy who always had a lot of ideas, and he didn't really follow through. Mark Anderson, he was a fantastic guy, but he had lots of ideas and very little follow through. I mean, he would start 2 or 3 shows, in a day, and he would get flyers printed up, and he would make arrangements and have rehearsals and everything, and then by the next day he'd have different shows in mind, and he was always working on ways to promote the theater because it was down off of the main drive, down in like a little valley, and you couldn't see it from the road. And so his idea was that he was going to dress us up like animals. He was going to dress us up like cows and chickens and horses, and we were going to stand out by the street on a little trampoline, like one of those little exercise trampolines. We were going to jump up and down on the trampoline in a full animal costume and hold a sign that said "This way to the show," and it had a little arrow pointing down, and we were going to bounce up and down on it. Now, it was literally like 100 degrees in Branson that summer, and we had to say to him, we said, "Mark, we'll die if we wear that costume and jump up and down, and so we may attract people to the show, but there won't be a show because all of the people who are acting in the show will be dead from jumping up and down and heat exhaustion and then we started to kind of make fun of him about his ideas, and we called him out on this. It's like, you've always got these crazy harebrained ideas for how we're going to promote the show. I said, I got an idea. Here's what we can do. That was when we had Elvis opening for us. I said, in Branson, there are dozens of Elvis impersonators. Here's what we should do. Out in the parking lot, which is largely empty, we can set up a little carousel, and we can put half a dozen Elvises around and tether them to like a pole, and we can give Elvis rides. You know how they're doing. You know how they're doing pony rides. We do Elvis rides, and it's $5, and you can make a couple of laps on Elvis's shoulders. And I just laughed so hard that my stomach hurt.
That's great.
That would have been beautiful
In Branson. Yep.
Oh boy, that's great.
Oh my gosh.
Those
What
are
was
hard-
the thing again? Happy? Oh,
Yeah, that time when you were happy.
Like,
Have you ever been
I
happy,
was thinking
Juwan?
about, in Branson, they have a good fudge place there. So I can take you to it. I know exactly where it is. I can walk from the hotel. I was going to do this one. Melody and I found a Groupon to go to like London. I don't know if this is funny or not, but we went to London and toured around there, and it was like a bus ride and 4 nights in the hotel and a tour around the city, and then a river tour down the Thames, and it was all like for like $1,500 for 2 people. It was crazy how cheap it was. Yeah, and the best part about it is we left the kids at home. Like 4 days without kids, just touring around London together. I was happy. That was a happy time.
Yeah, I'll say. I thought of one similar to yours, Juwan. A friend of mine worked for a Broadway producer for a while, and she opened a show in the West End, and he was going with her because he was her personal assistant. And she said, well, there's going to be a lot of times when you are just by yourself, Sam. So why don't you take a friend? And so Sam called me up and said, do you want to go to London for free for a week? And I said, yes. So we got to go to London, and she footed the bill and got us this apartment right around the corner from the British Museum. But I had never been to Europe before. So I told Sam, I said, I would love to take the train over to Paris, even if it's just for one day, because I don't know how many chances I'll get to do this. So we did. We got on a bullet train at King's Crossing Station and went under the channel, and it took 3.5, 4 hours.
Yeah.
But we arrived in Paris at 4 a.m., checked into our hotel, slept for a couple hours, got up at 6, and we did the whole city in one day. And I still remember the feeling of walking out on that little terrace and looking at the Eiffel Tower in person for the first time and just feeling euphoric. It was just such a happy feeling. I'm in Paris looking at the Eiffel Tower. So that was a happy moment for me.
Yeah.
How about you
Nice.
guys? You got a happy time?
Nah.
Held it.
You want to tell your Paris story?
Which one's that? Just the whole thing about it? Yeah. But I had another one in mind. All right. And you can tell the Paris if you want to. Well, Pat and I play a little game, and it actually it all comes together. First of all, this morning we had some worship together, and one of the songs we sang is that song. What's it called? Unnamed Hymn or something like that. Untitled Hymn. And it tells about all these things, but you always orient it towards Jesus. And there's one verse in that song that always just rips me up in a good way, where it says, "And when the joy spills over," is that it?
Music.
When the joy spills over and music fills the air, and when you can't contain, is that
When the love spills.
when the love spills over and joy fills? Help me, John Boy.
Fills the night.
And when you can't contain your joy inside, then dance for Jesus.
Yeah.
Dance for Jesus. Dance for Jesus and live. And I have moments like that where the joy just spills over and you can't hardly contain it. Well, we sang that this morning. Now, this afternoon we went on a hike, and Pat and I let everybody leave us, because we walk a lot slower than anybody else. But we play this little game. Come here, Mom. And this little game we play every now and then is we'll be together, and I'll say, you can help me. I'll say, "Have I told you lately that I love you?"
No.
Well, Marlon, I'm telling you now. And so we're out in the mountains. We were walking down a trail, and I was behind her. And the love just spilled over. And I just stopped in the trail, and I said, "Have I told you lately that I love you?" She said, "No." I said, "Well, darling, I'm telling you now." And in that moment, that little moment out there in the woods this afternoon, it just all spilled over, and I was happy. I was happy at that time. So that was my happy moment.
Yeah, you tell Paris.
Tommy was today.
I like that. We get some heart in the show today. I love it.
Oh yeah.
When he was talking about Paris, on our 40th wedding anniversary, we went to Bristol, Tennessee, to do a weekend retreat. Only it wasn't a retreat. It was all fake. We had a whole room full of people there getting ready to do this. I think it was a marriage retreat. And they had planned to send us to Paris for our 40th wedding anniversary. Wow. So they did this whole big show program and all that. And they actually did a contest. And of course, we were the winners. And they gave us tickets to Paris. And we had to fly out the very next day. We had to drive back home to Knoxville and pack, and flew to Paris for our 40th wedding anniversary. And it was like a movie. The whole trip, everything was perfect. And all of our friends did that for us. So that was a happy time.
Yeah, that's great.
That is great.
Paris.
Yeah. So I was just thinking about that when he said it.
So, yeah.
All right. Shall I draw a card for you, Juwan?
Well, obviously your parents have won already.
No winners.
Yeah.
I told a story about my mom's cooking and a trip without my children. That's
great. Okay. Now, like I said, if we draw a card that makes you draw a blank, you're not obligated. We'll just draw another
right.
one. So
Okay.
I drew an olive, and the topic is hunting.
What?
It's hunting.
Yeah.
Okay. I do have a hunting story.
Okay.
I have a few hunting stories. Excuse me. The only time I got into hunting was because my girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife, her dad was into hunting and her brother was into hunting. So I was like, I grew up kind of out in the country. Well, I grew up in a double wide home that was like not in a neighborhood. So when I say out in the country, in Florida, you just basically park your trailer where there ain't a swamp. So that's the country I grew up in. And so we shot guns and things, but we shot them at inanimate objects like lights and toilet bowls and rats and stuff. So I never actually went hunting. I wanted to go like officially hunting. So he took me out, and we were in Florida, but he said, climb that ladder. I'd never done it before for hunting for deer. So you go up in a stand, but it was a ladder up on a plywood platform. And I just kind of stood there for 3 hours and I didn't see anything, saw some turkey. And he came back and got me. And I was like, was I supposed to see something or what was going on? That happens sometimes. And so that was the morning. In the afternoon, he took me up. He goes, all right, go to that tree. And what you're going to do is you'll see a little platform and you just kind of hug around the tree. And then you turn around and put your back to the tree and you scooch down and you'll feel a little seat. And you just roll it out and you sit down on that. And then when a deer comes by, you can shoot it. I did not. I got up there and I sat down and I didn't move until he came and got me. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess it's time to go in now. I didn't even look around. I didn't even fidget. So years later, I'm getting more into it, more into hunting, and I bought a harness. Because there's a thing where you can actually climb up a tree, no ladder or anything. You just climb up. So I was like, maybe I need something a little more safe. So I bought a harness. There's a little DVD that came with it. So I was like, okay, well, I need to learn something. So I threw it in there. And the first thing out of the guy's mouth is 90% of hunting deaths occur when people fall out of the tree. So I thought back in those times where he sent me up a tree with nothing, no restraints or anything. I'm like, he was trying to kill me this whole time. So that's my father-in-law was trying to kill me at the time. He's like, oh, you're going to date my daughter? Well, go up on this ladder 15 feet on a tree and I'll see you in 5 hours.
That's great. Oh, man.
I don't think I have a hunting story.
Yeah, I've never hunted.
It doesn't have to be hunting for animals. It could be hunting for keys.
It could be. Yeah,
it could be like
interpret the card any way you want.
right, like hunting for a prize in a cereal box. You know?
Yeah. Or the time.
What are you doing? I'm hunting.
How many of y'all were smart and opened up the bottom of the box? No, I did like Brian. I just went, These Cheerios taste like a hand.
You got handprints all over here. Because even if you open the bottom, it's still in the bag.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. That just reminded me, I got a good buddy up in Southwest Virginia. He lives near Big Stone Gap.
Is that Southwest Virginia or Southwest?
Southwest Virginia. Southwest Virginia, if you look at the state. And his name is Jack Harris. And Jack said when he was a boy, he went in the store and they had Cracker Jacks. Everybody remembers Cracker Jacks had a prize in them. Mm-hmm. And he said, I slipped back in the back. And he said, I had a $5 bill. And he said, I put it in a box of Cracker Jacks. And he said, I just took the box up to the counter and bought it and then opened it right there from the other. And he said, I pulled out, I said, look, $5. I found $5. he said they sold every box of Cracker Jackers at the store.
They sold $500 worth of Cracker Jacks.
They did. They sold out on Cracker Jacks. So there you go. Well, it was hunting for the prize.
Right. It counts.
That's fantastic.
Be very, very quiet.
All right. Anybody else have a hunting story? Nope. Shall I draw one for Tommy now or Pat?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna draw one for you, Mom.
Mm-hmm.
It's another olive, and it's a story about a fire.
Is the olive is on fire? Oh no, he's in a campfire.
He's roasting marshmallows. Do you have a story?
We all know we've roasted olives over a campfire.
Your mother probably hasn't she? Wasn't that a dish that she used to prepare?
Yeah.
Was
roasted olives on a pear with yogurt
and cheese.
Okay. A story about a fire. The first church that we preached at was in Meadowview, Virginia. And John Thomas was a baby. I think we were there. We were actually there when he was born. So this was about 2 years in. And so he was 2 years old. And I was canning in the kitchen. I was canning grape jelly. And I don't know if you all know about this, but you can put on the top of the grape jelly, you can pour paraffin and it seals it instead of a lid. But I ran out of paraffin. And so I went to the store to get more paraffin, but I left the paraffin that was on the stove on high and caught the parsonage on fire. And I just happened to take John Boy outside so his daddy could watch him while I went to the store. And when I came back, the fire department was there. And and the parsonage was brand new. We were the first to live in it, I think. And the whole kitchen was on fire. But the neat thing about the story is that the money that we got to fix the kitchen back was enough that they paid off the loan on the house. So I told them when they got ready to build the church to just call me and I would get the church on fire and they could pay it off really quick.
I'll can grape jelly in the kitchen at the church.
Holy smokes, awesome.
That's great.
You were the
Anybody
first to
else?
live there in the last.
Fire story.
I have a fire story. I have a bunch of fire stories, but this is the one. Okay, I actually have a degree in teaching, and so that's what I went to school for. And so when I was getting ready to graduate, the last semester before you graduate, you have to do student teaching. And so I was doing my student teaching at a little elementary/junior high school in near Grayson, Kentucky. And I was teaching a science class. And so as my part of my final, I had to lead an entire lesson. And so the guy who was my supervising teacher was a little old man. He was the nicest. We got along famously, and he let me basically do whatever I wanted to do. I said, what should I do? He goes, it's your class. You do whatever you want. I said, okay. I would like to do something about the different states of matter, solid, liquid, gas. And he goes, okay, that'll be great. So we had all these 6th grade kids, and here was my demonstration in science. I had 3 beakers, and they had different, and they were big, giant beakers like you see in the movies. The mad scientists have these. And I put different liquids in each of those. And I was explaining to the kids, now these are all 3 liquids. And then I had some solids that I was going to dump into the liquids, and it was going to create gases. And so I did that. And the first beaker was, I think, water. And then I had salt that I had put into a balloon. And so when I emptied the balloon into the beaker, then I stretched it over the neck, and the balloon was sitting there and just kind of hanging there. And I said, so here I've mixed this solid with this liquid, and it's producing a gas, and we'll see if it fills up the balloon. And it didn't. And on the next beaker, I had baking soda, and inside the balloon I had baking soda, and then I had vinegar in the flask. And so when I dumped the baking soda in, then it created carbon dioxide, and the balloon filled up with carbon dioxide. And the kids were like, ooh, that's great. And I go, yeah. So there's a solid and liquid, and you put them together and you made gas. And then in the last beaker, I had hydrochloric acid, and inside the balloon, I had zinc powder. And so when I emptied the zinc into the hydrochloric acid, it also filled up the balloon, but it filled it up with hydrogen. Okay. So then I said, now we've got all of these 3 balloons that are reacting, and they're filled with various gases, but the gases, even though the balloons look, similar, they're filled up with completely different substances. And I had a candle, and I was going to demonstrate how the substances were different. And so I held it under the first, and the balloon was just there. There was nothing there. And so nothing happened. And I said, now the second balloon is full of carbon dioxide. And I put the balloon underneath it, and it just went, it just deflated and everything. And I said, now this last balloon is actually full of hydrogen. And so it's going to have a different reaction. And I put the candle underneath the balloon, thinking that it was going to go bang. I mean, I knew that it was going to go bang, but I was not prepared for it to go kaboom. It sounded like a cannon. It was like boom. And the candle, there was this giant ball of fire. This huge ball. My hair went flying back. And it was in the gymnasium, and the kids, I was up on the stage, and all the kids simultaneously went, ah! The principal came down the hall from the other side of the building. He goes, what is going on in here? My supervising teacher said, we're just doing some science.
Nice.
Yeah.
Were you able to compose yourself? Like you played it off like, see, that's what happens. That's what science
That's
does.
exactly what I did. I remember thanking God at that moment. I said, thank you so much for not having that flask explode and like pelt me with shards of glass. It's science, kids.
I was just thinking about that teacher too, sitting back going, yeah, let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
He didn't stop you or anything. He's like, yeah, I did this in my first year.
I don't think he anticipated. No, but we didn't anticipate that all of that hydrogen was in there and it was all going to go up at once, but it was super loud.
Man.
He was just like, excuse me while I take cover before you.
Where are you going?
I'll be right back.
Yeah, well, I had another. Just the way that story actually ended was there was another experiment that I had planned that did the same, and I did that experiment, and that was basically putting a piece of sodium into water, and it reacts. It creates, it gives off oxygen really fast. And so I'm like, and same thing. And I put it in there and I'm holding it and I'm showing the kids, you see that it's bubbling around in there and you can start to see the oxygen, coming off the top. And it's like, isn't that cool? And they're like, oh, that's pretty cool. But what I didn't realize is that there's hot in there too. There's heat in there. And when you if you put it in a tray of water, then it kind of shoots around and it's neat. But if you put it in a test tube like I did, there's no place for it to go. And so all of that oxygen is down there with that heat. And it just went pop. And then this ball of fire shot all the way up into the gym ceiling and started bouncing around and sparks came down.
Wow.
For our final lesson, this is how you use a fire extinguisher.
Right.
There
I was
you
like,
go,
oh my
kids.
gosh. And
And
so
we wonder why you aren't teaching science.
This is how carbon dioxide puts out fires, kids.
So,
oh my gosh.
I had a
Wow.
band right out of college, and my dad and his best friend ran a week of church camp every summer for 30 years or more. And so I took my band there one summer to do lead worship all week. And so on the last night, we had a gig in Cleveland, Tennessee. So we had to drive from Unicoi, from Eastern Tennessee down to Middle Tennessee for this other gig. So we had to leave early. Well, the week was happening right in the 4th of July. So they had a big fireworks display the last night we were there, which was on a Thursday night, I'm pretty sure. And so we finished up the fireworks display. We were packing up our stuff, getting ready to leave. And I was riding with the bass player, this friend of mine named Stuart Weed. And the drummer was Eddie Freitag, and he had his wife and kid with him, and they were driving a Ford Bronco. And Stuart had this nasty old GMC beat up blue truck. And so on the way out, we packed everything up, and I saw a stack of bottle rockets just laying on a table from the fireworks display. And so I just grabbed a few of them, and we started down the road. Now, the road from Unicoi out to the main highway is really curvy, and it's not lit well. There's no street lights. It's just really dark. And we were leading the way, me and Stuart, in his nasty truck. Eddie and his family were behind us in the Ford Bronco. So I got an idea. And I said, hey, Stuart, I'm going to fire one of these bottle rockets back at Eddie. And he goes, okay.
That sounds okay.
Yeah, so I popped a cigarette lighter in, waited, rolled down the window, it popped out. I lit the fuse on that bottle rocket and held it out the window. And it took off. But instead of going behind us, the wind caught it and it threw it back into the cab of the truck. It flew behind my head and got caught. Stuart had long hair. It got caught in his hair. So he let go of the wheel of this truck and starts going, like that. We're swerving all over the place. He finally gets it out of his hair and throws it on the dash right when it explodes. Now, a bottle rocket 30, 40 feet up in the air just looks like, that's about what it looks like. But in the cab of a truck, it's like a stick of dynamite. That thing went boom, and it shot sparks and gunpowder all inside the truck. And there was a spray pattern on the windshield of gunpowder. And so we rolled down both windows, and there was black smoke just pouring out. And we pulled over as soon as we could at this convenience market. And we get out of the truck, and we both got burn marks on our face. And we're just, it's like in one of those movies where something, Home Alone or something, where it blows up and your face is just...
Yeah, it's cartoon.
So we got out of the truck, and we're just shaking like this. And Eddie pulls up behind us and he goes, "What happened, man? I saw this huge flash, and then your car started going all over the road."
I would be so mad that it's like, oh, you were supposed to be pranked, not us. You were supposed to be the one that's pranked. What do you mean what's going on? You're supposed to be scared.
And that's when we stop to get a new change of clothes.
That's right.
It seems like it would work, right? I mean, it seems like it would work, but it
wind.
Well,
it left a big scorch mark on his upholstery too. Behind my head, and just left a big burn mark. He had to explain that to Debbie, his wife.
When we were younger, we would, because we were dumb boys, we took pipes and put them on our bicycles and used those to launch. We'd stick Roman candles in them, and bottle rockets, and we played Road Warrior, the old Mad Max movie. And we would ride around and light them and just aim, and Roman candles shoot like 10 things at a time. So we would just race at each other. And I don't know how we're all still alive, really, but I don't know how we survived that.
What a great idea. We never thought about putting pipes on the bikes. We would just run at each other.
Because they get hot.
Yeah.
This way you could really...
Mom!
Yeah, there was a quarry, and we would just go down to the quarry, and we'd have bottle rocket wars and just Roman candles going at each other, just, smart things.
Juan goes, "What a great idea."
We weren't smart enough to put pipes on our bikes. We were just running after each other with fireworks.
What a great idea.
A pipe and a little bit of tape, and you're good to go.
I mean, my story, I could say I was young when I did it, but this was like a couple months ago. Sometimes you have to mix gas with oil and I forgot what it was for the weed whacker, so I didn't know what the mixture was. You got to get the mixture right. So I had a bunch of wood in a hole where we cut a tree down. So I was going to burn that. So I just dumped the gas in there, and I thought, that'd be clever. I know the gas is going to totally explode. So what I'll do is I'll trail it out like they do gunpowder in the cartoons. They make a little trail for it, and that'll make it way more safer to do because I'll light it and then it'll go along the ground and then explode, and I'll be at a safe distance. And so if you know anything about science, you probably already guessed that the gas that I used to make the trail is the same gas that I used and it exploded too. It just went 30 feet in the air. It was like a big ball of fire. Just, it was like Wizard of Oz, that thing. And I looked around, and my father-in-law is weed whacking. My wife is on the porch, and my mother-in-law is somewhere outside walking around. Nobody was looking at me, and nobody saw it happen. So I just played it off. But basically, all my arm hair was smoking, and then this side of my beard had all curled up. And I was like, "Hey, what you guys doing?" And Melody's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "What do you mean? What do you mean what happened? See the fire? Just started a fire there. What do you mean?" I'm still blinking. I'm still kind of blinking fast, Still got adrenaline going. I was trying to play it off. It wasn't working.
What happened? What do you mean?
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
What are you talking about? Why do you smell like?
Oh, that.
Smell like burnt air.
Yeah.
Do you have a fire story, Tommy?
I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
Kind of like.
It's funny how we didn't all have stories about our mother, but everybody has a fire story.
Back when John Thomas was a teenager, I took him and his his younger brother, Jason, with me. I was doing this teen retreat somewhere up in Virginia, way up in the mountains. And this youth group full of all these boys and teenage boys and girls. I guess
what is she saying?
And we got to this camp where they were having the retreat, and because I was a speaker, they gave me a room by myself. I had a little room by myself, but John Thomas and Jason stayed with all the teenage boys. Well, we went through the retreat, and I would preach and teach, and we had prayer and stuff like that, like you do in a retreat. And my boys took part, and I just noticed they were bonding with these teenage boys. I mean, these teenage boys were high-fiving them and they were hugging them. And, they're just right with. And I thought, well, this group has just accepted my sons really well. And I was so proud of them because I thought they're sharing their testimonies with these boys, and it's going really good. And the last night we had one of those real touching moments where you get the kids all in a circle and you talk about what a great weekend it's been and how your life has been changed and how you've learned so much. But all the tributes that night weren't for me. I mean, all these teenage boys kept saying, we just appreciate John and his brother being at this retreat. And one of them said, I'd just like to say, and he got all teared up, I'd just like to say them boys is true country boys. But they didn't say too much to me. And when we were leaving the retreat, they kept talking about how appreciated me bringing my boys. Their leader said, your boys have just influenced our boys so much, and said, thank you for bringing them with you on the retreats and all this. And I kept thinking, they didn't say anything about the boys about what I taught them. And as we were leaving the retreat, I said, how I was talking to the boys in the car, and I said, what were you teaching? Were you having Bible studies in the evening after the retreat was over? When you go to the dorm, I mean, did you all share something? And they said, well, yeah, Dad, we did. And I said, what'd you share? And I found out that every night after I had done all my deep spiritual teaching to the teenage boys, my sons had gone back to the dorm and taught them all how to light bottling gas. To this day, I'm sure those teenage youth group, none of them can remember a sermon I preached, a word I taught, but all of them know about the retreat where they learned how to light.
You just got to use the right illustration.
That's it.
That's funny. Are they carrying them off on their shoulders? John's like,
yeah, exactly.
All the glory goes to God.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
man.
No.
Come on. It doesn't. They don't have to be flammable. I mean, he had to know.
That's right.
Oh boy.
He knew before he invented us.
Fantastic.
Right.
All right, we got any more fire stories?
I think everybody told the fire story. Yeah.
I want to. We're about at time where we have to stop, but I want to have a request if I can do that. I know this is probably a breach of the rules, but John Thomas has a story that he tells that's one of my favorite stories that anybody has ever told, and it might just be me. But do you know the story that I want you to tell?
Probably, yeah.
About the being on the subway.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I can tell that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I lived in New York City for a while and lived in Brooklyn, but most of my work was in Manhattan. So I would have to take a train across the Brooklyn Bridge. I think it was the B train. And sometimes are, but the B train, once it got on the Brooklyn Bridge, it slowed down because they always slowed the trains down going across the bridge. And it didn't stop on the bridge. It was about a mile across that bridge. So it was a slow slog over the Brooklyn Bridge. Well, I got on the car one night going home, sat down, and there was 3 or 4 people sitting there. And right before the doors closed, this guy gets on, probably homeless.
He's got this big, long black trench coat on, these big combat boots, and he's got a beard down to his navel, hair going everywhere. He hasn't bathed, and as soon as he steps on, the smell just filled up the whole car. And there were people sitting across from me doing this, you know. It was really bad. Well, he sat down right across from me on that subway car. Just sat there, and the doors closed, and we started this long, slow slog across the bridge, and we're trapped in here with the guy. Well, all the other people got up and moved to the far end of the car. And I just sat where I was for some reason, because what happened next was amazing. I'm glad I stayed where I was. So the guy's sitting there, he reaches into his pocket and he pulls out a 32-ounce can of mackerel. Now it looks like something that, on a Looney Tunes cartoon that was made by
Popeye spinach can.
Yeah, it's got this huge fish on it in block letters and mackerel. That's an enormous can of fish. He reaches in his other pocket and pulls out a can opener. And he starts winding that can open. Well, that smell comes out. And so now we've got body odor mixed with mackerel. And we're not even halfway across the bridge. So he winds the lid off of that can, throws the lid on the floor. Then he pulls out this enormous soup spoon and starts eating that mackerel. Just scooping it up, and chunks are falling out in his beard and on the floor and on his clothes. And he just eats that whole can. And by this time, I'm about to throw up. He finishes all the mackerel in the can, and then he turns it up and drinks all the fish juice. And it's running out of both sides of his mouth into his beard. He doesn't care. He finishes that, throws the can on the floor, and sits back.
Satisfied.
And then,
satisfied.
And then he reaches into his pocket and pulls out another can. Wow. I'm not kidding. It goes through the whole routine again, twice. Went through 2 cans of mackerel. I mean, we couldn't get off that train fast enough when we got to the other side of the bridge. It was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
2 cans of mackerel.
2 cans.
You didn't even know. I guess the coat was such you couldn't tell that was stuff in there.
No.
It's funny.
Wow.
Well, that was the first time that I heard that story. Is another time that I was happy in my life. It's one of my favorite stories of all time. All right, JT, I asked you if you would be willing to do a Irish ditty for us to bring us home tonight, and
so we're going to close with this.
Yeah, we'll close it up. So thanks, Tommy and Pat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your stories. Enjoyed it.
Me and Pat.
Zip line.
All right, so JT's take it away. Whatever you're going to do.
Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the flowers are falling. 'Tis you, must go and I abide. But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valley's hushed and white with snow, and I'll be here in sunshine or in shadow. Oh, Danny boy, I love you so.
John Thomas.
All the emojis.
All right. That is our show. It's time for our snappy wrap up. And tonight, Juan DeVivo is going to do it in an Irish brogue. And so
Oh no! Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We want you to go by johnbrennan.com and to sign up there for the Comedy Click, and also we want you to go to comedybrian.com for all your Brian needs. Oh, and also patreon.com. Comedy Brian and Patreon, and go see his podcast. John's got a podcast. Go to johnthomasoaks.com and order the story salad. something for your family, and I don't know where I'm going now with this. I got to get back into character. Make sure you come see us on the road, castingcrowns.com. We're out west. I hope you're out there gonna come see us, even though it's dangerous. It's totally dangerous. It's not dangerous at all. Come see us. We'll sing great songs together. And this is me saying good night to you all.